That sounds good. Whoa! Why is that on the screen? Sheesh! Hang on. I did not intentionally do that. All right. Let's pause that. Okay. Guys, I have been thinking about something more than I'd like to admit for the past 3 weeks. What's up, everybody? I've been dealing with this question for like such a long time. I've been wondering what it is. And that is, and that question is, how many anime exist? I mean, it's a simple question, right? But there's not a simple answer to figure out like how many that is. Because your first instinct would be, well, okay, well, let's just Google it. Like, how many anime exist? Well, if you Google it, you're just gonna be met with some AI slop. Like, let's be real here. 60,000 anime? Is that what AI is saying? That is not it. That is not it. I'm thinking, okay, well, if I don't Google it, let's just, let's skip the Google. Let's consult Reddit. Although I don't really think of Reddit as a valid source. Because if you go on Reddit, it's not that helpful either. Because, hang on, real quick. There we go. All right. Because if you go on, because if you check out Reddit, you'll see people saying like, wild thoughts, not really like too much thought into it, like 20,000 anime. I don't know. And then somebody else is saying, I think that's 23,886. I mean, that's not really it either, because they don't really know. Or you'd be like, okay, Reddit is not that helpful. We could check, anime forums. And if you check the forums, they say similar, wild like conjectures, guesses. 60,000 anime, 20,000 anime, all along those lines. So forums are not that helpful either. And then, obviously, it's another Reddit guess, like 24,000 anime. Like, come on. So, I mean, yeah. So Reddit is not helpful. AI on Google is not that helpful either. So you may be thinking, well, I can be clever here. I can use my thinking cap, if you were to say, and you can check anime database sites. And if you look at the number of anime recorded on those database sites, you would see, oh, that's the number of anime that exist. Well, unfortunately, well, actually, let's say you do that. You go on AnimeDB, and you see it has 15,701 anime listed. And you're thinking, oh, that's it. That's the number of anime that exists. Well, that is not the correct answer either, because anime database sites have their own problem. If you go and browse through like all the anime they have cataloged, you come across short avant-garde films of 6 seconds in nature or something along that lines, and that begs the question, like, are these avant-garde 6-minute films, I think I said 6 seconds, are these 6-minute films the same as like a full-on anime? Like, are we going to say that this is on the same caliber as One Piece? So, yeah. So Google is not helpful. Reddit has wild ideas. The forum sites have wild ideas as well. If you go on, like, say, AnimeDB, it doesn't have a helpful answer either. What about My Anime List? Well, if we hop on My Anime List, It's not that helpful either, unfortunately, because just like with AnimeDB, they catalog their entries not by the number of anime series, but by the number of unique entries. That could be seasons, movies, commercials, music videos, you name it. So the total number of entries on my anime list isn't necessarily the amount of anime that exists either. Yeah. So you can't use that number either. Because that is like saying One Punch Man Season 1, One Punch Man Season 2, and One Punch Man Season 3 all count as separate anime when they're in fact the same anime series. So Google is not helpful, Reddit is obviously not helpful, nor do I trust Reddit. And then the anime database sites cataloged by the number of entries, not the total number of series. So will we really just not know how many anime exist? I mean, I guess that's what it is right now. We just don't know. And I think there's no way to tell. Well, that is not good enough for me. Because what I've been trying to do for the past 3 weeks is figure out how many anime exist. So, greetings gamers. My name is Kai-kun and welcome to the first live video that I will be recording for you all. And in today's video, I will attempt to figure out how many anime exist. Yeah. So I would like to recap. If you watched my previous videos on is anime getting more furry, or if anime is getting more LGBT, you will know that I am something of a computer scientist who loves to yap about anime. And today I'm doing something different by making my video in real time, so that way it's more of a collaboration that we can discuss in real time what's going on. And yeah. So in today's video, I'm going to figure out how many anime exist. But I think first, how did we get here? So I've been an anime fan for the past 15 years. I grew up watching anime starting around in middle school. And yeah, I'm also a computer scientist. So it just so happened in my last semester in college, I took a data science class and the professor had us pick our own data sets. And me, being the weeb that I am, I picked the anime one, and it has led me down the course of events where I am now presenting anime stats videos on YouTube. So yeah, super cool. And yeah, like I said, the class had us pick our own data science projects to do, and the first videos I made on this channel was anime stats related, actually came from some of those projects. But I was using public data sets. They weren't that good, they were not curated, so I took the time over these past 1.5 years to build up the resources to do this stuff myself with data that I have collected, so I know it is quite factual and actual. So the data I chose to collect was my anime list. Now the reason I picked it, besides my anime list being one of the largest and oldest anime database sites on the internet, is they have incredibly rich fields that I can use to run my analysis on. And in order to figure out how many anime exist, I will be looking at the related entries on the anime on my anime list. And using that related entries list, I can construct a complete series. I can figure out how many anime series exist on my anime list by going through all the related fields on my anime list for each anime and mapping them together. So that's the simple idea, not so simple in actuality. And the reason for that is, first, I need to clean the data. Because even though I have all of this data, it's not in a usable format for me to figure out how many anime exist. All right. Now, I like to keep things simple, so I'm going to put a big little asterisk in this title is, I'll be figuring out how many anime exist as of January 1st, 2025, because I'll be using the most recent full year's worth of data in this analysis. It keeps the numbers simple, and plus by the time I would post this video, it would be outdated anyway. So I'd rather keep it at a clean cut. Now the data I collected in April of 2025, so it is very recent, and just to show you all what we're looking at, I've taken every entry organized by the release date and plotted it on a graph. So we are looking at the raw counts of all anime entered on my anime list. And keep in mind this number represents music videos, movies, OVAs, commercials, etc. And then, yeah, from this we can see we have 27,269 my anime list entries. And if we look at the graph, we can make some interesting observations. In 2024, there were 1,180 anime entries recorded in that year. Yeah, damn. But the year with the most anime entries was in 2021, with 1,270 anime recorded for that year. And then if we were to take the cumulative graph, so we're looking at all the cumulative anime ever made year over year, anime entries, my mistake, we can see it's on the rise. It keeps going up. It roughly skyrocketed in the mid-2010s, and it's been on that upward trajectory ever since. Yeah, but while this information is all cool and all, we still need to clean the data. It doesn't help us solve our problem. All right. All right. Now, before we can go ahead and clean the data, we first need to understand what we are looking at. So my anime list has types recorded for each anime entered in their database. So if we break out all the entries recorded in their database by type, we see we have 10 types we're working with. And unknown means it's an unregistered type. We have PV for promotional video, CM for commercial, TV special, special, original network animation, music, which is like music videos, OVA, original video animation, and then we have type movie, and then lastly, type TV. So right off the bat, I would like to remove the unknown type, promotional video, commercial, and music from our analysis because those are anime adjacent entries, not necessarily anime. We're trying to figure out how many anime exists, not the total number of anime adjacent media. So after removing those types, we have a different graph where this is the curated list of all the anime entries after removing that. And that has taken us from 27,269 entries all the way down to 22,573 entries in our database. So we just knocked out 5,000 bogus entries that would pollute our output. Not bad. Now, while the rest of these entries seem fine, if you remember what I was talking about at the beginning of the VOD, there's still one category that requires further massaging, and that is the movie category on my anime list. If we look at the movie category by runtime, I've broken it out into different buckets, and we can see there's a lot of anime movies recorded on my anime list that are in the 0 to 5 minute range, 5 to 15 minute range, 15 to 30 minute range, etc. And we have roughly 4,700 anime movies recorded on the database. So, although we have a lot of anime marked as movies, we can see a lot of them aren't necessarily true anime movies. A lot of them are avant-garde short films, which again is detracting from our goal of figuring out how many anime exist. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to filter out all the anime entries recorded on my anime list of type movie that are less than 30 minutes. And after we do that, we've shaved off an additional 2,488 entries. So what we have left are anime movie entries that I believe are valid. So that's pretty cool. So after doing our initial cleaning, we have we went from 22,573 down to 20,324 anime entries. Very nice. So yeah. Yeah. And just to recap what I've said so far, we had our initial entries of 27,000 raw anime entries from the data. And after doing our initial cleaning, removing the bogus entries, the commercials, the music videos, the short forms, the avant-garde films that aren't anime, we have shaven it down to 20,324 entries. So we're getting pretty close. And I think this is cool just for a moment, because if we go ahead and break it back out on a timeline, what we can see is this is more or less the true number of individual anime seasons and movies year over year that have been made. And we can make some interesting observations from that. What we can see is in the peak year of the anime of the, sorry, my bad. We can see the peak year of the most anime made was in 2016 with 966 entries, and the most recent year in 2024 had 777 entries. So yeah. And then if we look at just a cumulative year over year analysis, what we can see is it is still following that curve just like before. But we can also see like more clearly, like this is the total amount of anime that have been made to date. So now that we have gone through my anime list and cleaned out all the irrelevant entries, we can begin to working on the problem that I want to solve, which is how many anime exist. And now we need to build the algorithm. Now, this was no laughing matter. This was quite frankly one of the hardest things I've ever done in my computer science journey so far. This was very technical to solve for the reasons we'll get into in a bit. But yeah, so the idea is we'll be using the relationship map on my anime list to find the complete anime anthology for a series organized from earliest entry to latest entry in the anime series. So what we will do is, for example, let's look at One Punch Man. We will find sorry, I should preface this by saying my anime list has a unique ID for every anime on their site. So we're going to go through each anime on my anime list. We're going to find their unique anime ID, and from that, we'll grab the seasonal and we'll grab the anime data for that, such as when it first started airing and its related entries. And we will then match them together. So matching it gets a little complicated because in our One Punch Man example, if we look at the related entries for each season, Season 1 has Season 2 as its related entry. If we look at Season 2 has Season 1 and Season 3 as its related entry. And lastly, if we look at Season 3, it just has Season 2 as its related entry. And we need to visit each of them to find out the order that they have been made in and organize it where Season 1, Season 2, and Season 3 are all grouped together, organized from the earliest to the most recent anime in that series. And we need to do that for every anime. And if we do that for every anime, what we will end up finding is we will have a list of all the unique anime series recorded ever. Pretty cool. Now, just to look at some contextual data, going from that 20,000 or so anime entries I was telling you about earlier, we have roughly 14,800, sorry, not roughly, we do have 14,865 entries that have relationships and 5,459 that do not. So from that, we can make a rough guess that there are probably somewhere between, maybe 13 to 16, 17,000 anime that exist, just by figuring out that, when you match some anime, some will be grouped together. Yeah. Now, before we can begin matching based off of relationship types, we first need to investigate the relationships for each anime to remove any ones that would cause issues. And believe me, this step right here took the longest to figure out. Because looking at the relationship entries, we have 12 of them. We have adaptation, we have other for just unclassified. We have sequel, prequel, parent story, side story, alternative version, character, which means anime characters that are related to this anime. We have alternative setting, full story, summary, and spin-off. And we need to figure out what types are valid. And just to throw in a fun fact, if we look at the adaptation entry, what we can see is the anime recorded that have the adaptation entry are actually pointing to the source material for that anime, which could be manga, light novel, manhwa, novel, doujinshi, one-shot, etc. So paperback sources. And that's a pretty cool entry because that lets us figure out how many anime have been made from light novels and manga versus how many are anime originals, or how long it takes for a manga to become a light novel. I actually made a short on that if you would like to check that out. So, yeah. But while this entry is cool, we need to remove it. So we're not going to be using adaptation. We also need to remove some other problematic entries, such as, let's see. I'm referencing my notes. Yeah. So I need to remove other problematic entries, such as adaptation, other, character, parent story, alternative version, alternative setting, and spin-off, because that would have led to incorrect matching. So the only related entries I will be looking at are sequel, prequel, side story, and full story for this program. Now, but, I will say but, even after doing extensive filtering on the related entries, building the anime series list, there is still some problematic anime series because there was genuine crossover episodes. In this case, Lupin 3 versus Detective Conan, For these anime series, they both point to Lupin the Three and Detective Conan as parent stories, even though they're technically separate anime. And I had to make the judgment call to group them to one. I had to make the judgment call to group them to Detective Conan, since I felt they were more Detective Conan related. And this only happened for anime series that are extremely long in the related entries list. For the shorter series, this problem didn't occur. And I actually looked at the top 200 related entries of the longest related entries list, and I only found a few of them that had this problem. So what I'm getting at is this is more or less, I'm more or less finding out the right answer, but there's like plus or minus 10 or so anime based off of like not making a perfect matching algorithm. And what I did was I used bidirectional breadth first search. And by the way, the problematic anime with like some obscure 1970s ones, we'll get to that in a bit. But for the most modern and mainstream ones, not so much. That issue did not occur. So, yeah. So, after doing all those cleaning steps, I ran my bidirectional breadth first search algorithm, and I found out how many anime exist. And the answer is, grand reveal, 13,452 unique anime series exists. Damn. As of January 1st, 2025. That's a lot, actually. If we look at the total number of entries we used to calculate this number, which was 20,000, after running our matching and grouping algorithm, grouping all the related anime entries, we came up with 13,452. So, yeah, that's the number. Now you may be wondering, at this point, after calculating how many anime series exist, what are the top 10 longest anime series of all time? And that I will be going over. Now this is going to be formatted a little funky because this is going to become a short, but we'll go that into a bit. So these are the top 10 longest anime series of all time based off the number of unique entries for that anime. So coming in at number 10, we have Crayon Shin-chan with 37 entries. Coming in at number 9, we have Dragon Ball with 40 entries. Coming in at number 8, we have Lupin 3 with 45 entries. And then coming in at number 7, we have this Chinese anime that I will not attempt to pronounce its name. I will butcher it, with 48 entries. Coming in at number 6, we have One Piece with 56 entries. Now this isn't the total number of episodes, this is the number of unique IPs in that anime. Coming in at number 5, we have Doraemon with 59 entries. Coming in at number 4, we have Meitante Conan, Detective Conan, with 60 entries. Coming in at number 3 as the most longest anime series of all time, we have Gundam with 66 entries in that series. Coming in at number 2, we have Pokemon with 73 entries in that series. And lastly, coming in at number 1, as the longest anime series of all time, we have Soreike Anpannen with 76 entries. Wow. And for all my YouTube Shorts people, this is the graph up there that you can use to pause and look at. But yeah, that's what I used. That's what came up after I ran the algorithm. Now for those watching this short, I encourage y'all to check out this live stream or the subsequent YouTube video I'll make from this in the future. Yeah. So, very cool. And for my people watching the VOD, there's the same graph, but I blew it up for you all, just to show you like the top 10 longest anime series of all time. And then also, for transparency's sake, I threw this in last minute. Um, for those that want to view the top 30 longest anime entries, you can see you can validate for yourself like how accurate this answer is. So apologies, this is like straight up code that I took a screenshot of, but here we can see like 30th longest anime, 29th longest anime, 28th longest anime, 27th longest anime. Maybe I'm going too fast. Let me slow down for the live stream. We have the 26th longest anime, which is a Chinese one. For 25, we have My Hero Academia as the 25th longest anime series of all time. And then 24, 23, let's see. Gintama, and I think that's another Chinese anime. And then 22 and 21. Now back to what I said earlier, there was a slight issue with some of the older anime, like the 1970s ones, the more obscure ones. So I think that one has some incorrect matching, but that's like one of the few and far between ones that I have investigated. And then we have Monogatari. Then we have Monogatari as the 20th longest anime. And then we have 19th. And then 18th is Code Geass. And then 17th, Naruto. And this is another one with a slight issue. More so because it's like an incredibly long series, so there's some matching that got mixed up. Yeah. And then 16, 15. Once again, you can verify these things for yourself. 14, 13. Yep. And then 12 and 11. So yeah. So that was just real quickly, that was the 30th through 20th longest anime series of all time. Just so you can view like what is actually inside of them. So after grouping out how many anime series exist, I then decided to just continue to explore the data. I broke it out by like how many entries are recorded for each series. And what we can see is for the number of anime series, 10,000 or so only have a single entry. This could either be a single movie or a single season in the show. And then that number drops nearly tenfold for anime series that have 2 or more entries. And then it continues to drop down to, for anime with 3 or more entries, to 500, to anime with 4 or more entries to 251, 5 entries, 145, 6 entries, 80, 7 entries, 46, 9, 10, and then finally 10 plus anime, which 93 anime have 10 plus entries recorded in the series. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. So having calculated like all the anime series, if you remember, because in the anime series list that I made, how I grouped it from the first anime to the most recent anime, what we can do is in that anime series list, if we look at the first entry for each value indexed in it, we can figure out the start date and we can plot that on a graph. And what that will let us figure out is how many new anime series have been made each year. And what you're looking at is that right now on the screen, where we can see some pretty interesting stuff, where 2016 had the most new anime series made that year with 594 entries. And then we had a local maximum in 2023 with, I think that says 531 entries. Yeah. And then I grouped all the anime made before equal to 1975 into one column just to like make it easier to see. So after having figured out how many unique anime series exist, what I then decided to do was figure out, as a fun little experiment, the most influential years in anime, which is looking at the number of new anime series made each year. And then for that year, for those new series, I counted up all the subsequent anime made after that anime that was released that year and plotted it for that year on the graph. So what that tells us is what this graph says is, for example, I think 2015. Let's look at 2014. If we look at the year 2014, of the anime made that year, and all the anime made after those anime made in that year, in relation to those anime, we had 964 entries, which also is the highest value on the graph. So what that means is 2014 was the year that spawned the most subsequent anime seasons and media from the series that were released that year. And that's pretty cool. This more or less shows us like, this graph is really interesting because it kind of shows us like what years were like the most popular, sorry, not the most popular, but this graph shows us like what years had the most influence on the anime industry or like the anime community. Because if 964 anime were made because of the anime made in 2014, that means the year of 2014, all those anime that were released that year had a tremendous impact and are more or less like long living after the fact. So it's pretty cool. So yeah. So in conclusion, after having done the math, having built the bidirectional breadth first search algorithm, looking at all the anime entries, cleaning them, organizing them, validating my results, as of January 1st, 2025, there are 13,452 anime that exist, give or take 10 series because of slight matching issues. I did not expect it to take 3 weeks for me to figure this out. That's because, as me being the originator of this data, I wanted to make sure it was factual and actual to the best of my ability. I did not want to pump out slop. And I feel like if people are going to like look this number up, they're probably going to reference this video, and I want to make sure it's accurate as possible. So I know some of you who are watching may have questions. I am more than welcome to like do like a Q&A where we can talk about the results after this video. And then also, I would like to make the announcement that we will have live anime reviews like this coming soon. So all future videos that I make will more or less follow this format of having a live conversation with you all. I've done tremendous coding work to make this possible. So I think it'll be really cool. It'll give us the ability to have like a real-time discussion talking about like a unique anime series, talking about its data, and like also our thoughts on it too, in a really like cool way. Yeah, so more chill anime reviews with data analysis coming in the future. And then I also like to point out, like, I do Twitch as well. I'm also like live streaming this on Twitch, and I also have a clips channel. So if you'd like to like not necessarily watch me for like my anime content, you can watch me play some video games, and like we can just chat and have a great time. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for watching. Thank you for everybody who tuned in. I'll be around for the Q&A, and then it would help me out if you can like to subscribe. If you're already subscribed, consider sharing this to one of your friends or just, leaving a nice comment. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Peace. Yeah, so Q&A time. Yeah, so this was like a pretty interesting video. Okay, so what came out in 2014? Yeah, this did show up on the reading comprehension test afterwards. So that's a good question. 2014. Let me scroll back in my video. Okay. So like as I was saying earlier, what this chart is showing is like all the unique anime entries that came out that year, and then all the anime that came out in relation to the anime released that year, and I've just plotted them all for the year that they released. And we see it has 964 entries. Now, I don't really know like the anime that came out in 2014 off the top of my head. We could check out my anime list. We can look at the anime released that year. But I feel like Kill la Kill was released that year, 2014. Maybe it was like late 2013. I'm not quite sure. Although that's influential, I only had like one season. But yeah. But cool. All right, so I am going to do this. No. Oh no. Darn it. I messed up. I forgot to hit record. No. This is so unfortunate. Yeah, so my master plan was recorded live, but I have did the absolute goof that was recording it, not hitting the record button, so damn. I know. That's what I thought, but I had it all set up where I can record it, where my green screen layer is separate, and then just delete the audio and swap the background to whatever I please, but I guess we'll have to make do. It's unfortunate, darn, but it is what it is. Yeah, I guess I can do that. I think what I may do is yeah, for sure. I'll get the kinks out for the next one. Um, because ideally, I would just like to make it a one-stop shop. So, where I just record it in one go and then just edit it afterwards. Darn. Yeah. Well, no, I thought that was pretty cool. So like what you just saw was like more or less me trying to like consolidate my effort into like making like anime content, but also like doing it efficiently. And it only works if I do it correctly, so darn. Yeah, I do. Well, sweet. Um, all right. Well, I think what I'll do is I'll probably end the stream on YouTube. Thank you for all the people that checked out on that. And then yeah, I'll have to edit down the flubs. But yeah, Neo JRPG. I I went ahead and got the graphs into. I grouped them all to be like 19 or 75 or less. I grouped them all into like 1 year. I think you made that call out, so very cool. But yeah, this was the first video like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream on YouTube. Thanks for everybody who checked it out on that, and I'll also be streaming on Twitch, so we'll keep on chatting there. But yeah, I'll end the stream on YouTube. So for those on that, I will talk to you all later. So peace.